Hello, everybody, and welcome to our weekly show. We call it Three Broke Guys Handicapping. It's where we review one of the top racing cars from around the United States. We will select a four-race sequence from that track and attempt. No, wait. You know what? Hang on. Thank you for joining us. But during week number 49, instead of coming to a consensus, me and the handicappers will be competing head-to-head in a little contest we like to call Pick4 Wars. Each of the three broke guys has a track and a $50 budget. Coming to you from his home in Staten Island, New York, and covering the Pick4 at the Big A, it's also known as Aqueduct Racetrack in Ozone Park, New York. It's hometown Ray Torado. How are you doing? What's the weather like in the Big Apple for tomorrow?
Yes, I'm doing good. I got it's been a little chilly here.
It's a little chilly.
Cold spell. We had the coldest Thanksgiving parade in 100 years. It's been 20 degrees. Today was about 35 degrees. But tomorrow, I got good news. Cloudy and 51. But there might be a little bit of chance of rain, 40 to 70% later in the card. So just be aware of that. And if you have any, we have, I know last year's is a turf race, so they could take it off. You never know. So just be on the lookout. But if this rain starts later in the card, it shouldn't be a factor. So, but it'll be 51, so that's pretty nice for Aqueduct.
That's pretty nice for New York in November. Mm-hmm. All right. Covering the Pick4, and he is coming at you. He's going to be covering under the Twin Spires at Churchill Downs in Louisville, Kentucky. He's actually our West Coast handicapper, and he is coming at you from his home in Temecula, California. Joe English. Okay, so it's not the first Saturday in May, but tell us a little bit about the weather on the last Saturday in November in Kentucky.
Well, Rich, actually, it's going to be pretty similar to what Ray was talking about. The forecast calls for cloudy conditions, mid-50s, and about a 3% chance of rain at around Pick4 post time, which is 4:57 on the East Coast, 1:57 out here locally on the West Coast for the late Pick4.
Nice. All right. And of course, my name is Rich Sharp, as you've heard several times there. And if you watch this show each week, well, I never really go very far from home. So I will cover the Pick4 from Del Mar. It begins if I'm not mistaken, it begins in race number 6 and concludes in race number 9. It's coming at you from Del Mar Racing in beautiful Solano Beach, California. They have morning clouds. They're going to give way to sunshine in the afternoon. It's a high, a little bit chilly, 67. There is still a 10% chance of rain. We have had some rain here in Southern California lately. So without further ado, we are going to go ahead and get rolling here. It's not our normal routine, but we do have a total of 12 races, and there are 5 stakes between the 3 tracks on tap for Saturday. So what the heck. For today, we're focused on the Pick4s, and only the Pick4s. Gentlemen, the gates are locked and loaded. The outriders are clear. And the starter is ready to pop the gate. It's Pick4 post time.
Let's go.
All right. Fired up first. If I'm not mistaken, Mr. English, you are leading us off tonight. And you are down at Churchill Downs in lovely Louisville, Kentucky. Go ahead and fire away, man.
Thank you, Rich. First race to open the Pick4. The sequence starts in race 9. It's race 9 through 12. The first race in the sequence is a mile and a 16th. It's for 2-year-olds. It's 2-year-old fillies, the Goldenrod, grade 2. Purse of $200,000. And I want to remind everybody out there that this is part of, I'm not doing the Pick5, but they have a Pick5 carryover of $49,200. So if
nice.
Use my picks to include in your Pick5, feel free to do so. That's a nice little incentive carryover there. This is a difficult race. It's a field of, actually, I want to say it's a field of 8. But the morning line favorite is unfortunately, morning line favorite is my top choice, and that's the 5 Restless Rider, trained by Kenny McPeak, ridden by Brian Hernandez, who has ridden her throughout her 5-race career. She's a grade 1 winner. She won the Alcibiades at Keeneland 2 back as the 6-5 favorite that day. She beat Reflect, who's also in this spot. But nobody else from that race turns up. And, of course, she finished second in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies behind Jaywalk, beaten 5.5 lengths. But basically, it looks like those two races on class, she kind of lays over the field. Don't know that you're going to get 7-5. Probably get a little bit closer to even money. But because my second choice happens to be in the race, you know she's going to take some action too, because she's trained by Chad Brown, and that's the 8 Break Curfew. She's only a maiden winner, but she's a $220,000 yearling purchase out of Into Mischief. Javier Castellano stays aboard, rode her to her maiden victory at Belmont at 6 furlongs, drawing away late. Again, only an 8-horse field, and this is definitely a step up in class. But it looks like she's got enough early speed to be a factor here. She drew the outside post, but in an 8-horse field, I'm not all that concerned. And again, I think she's got enough speed, probably more speed than just about everybody else in the field. She might be able to sit off the 6. I want to say the horse's name is Lyora, and get a nice spot early. I don't think she's going to have a problem being wider on the first turn because, again, it doesn't appear as if there's a lot of early speed in this spot. So she'll get a nice trip. The thing about it is Restless Rider is going to have to run her down. But again, Restless Rider wins this race on class alone. If she wins it, she's 2 for 3 over the track with the second. Again, she's grade 1 placed. And Break Curfew, you're going to get a short price on her because, she's 9-5 on the morning line. But she's stepping up from a maiden race into a grade 2. Not that Chad Brown hasn't done this before or can't do it. She's just going to get tested for class here. And if she's too low, I'd almost be kind of not wanting to use her. I mean, I'm going to use her on the ticket because the idea is to hit the pick 4 and make sure you have the winners. And this horse obviously can get the job done. Into Mischiefs can pretty much run everywhere. And again, Javier Castellano is coming down for the mount. He's staying down here. And she's obviously worked well enough on the dirt at Belmont. This will be the first time she's seen Churchill. So that's another kind of knock against her, whereas Restless Rider has all the experience over her over the track. So for me, I guess my strategy is more like a pyramid. I only went too deep in this spot. Unfortunately, it's the 2 favorites on top. The 5 Restless Rider with Brian Hernandez and the 8 Break Curfew with Javier Castellano aboard. So 5-8 for me in the Goldenrod at Churchill Downs. So now I would toss it to Mr. Tirado in Staten Island. What's the first race in the sequence at Aqueduct? And actually, it's funny. I wanted to mention the first race is about 2:00 in the Pacific time zone, 5:00 on the West for the Churchill Pick 4. Ray, what's the first race? What are the conditions? And what time is the first race in your sequence?
We have race 7 Aqueduct. The time of the post would be 11:50 Pacific time, so it'd be 2:50 my time, Eastern time. We have a nice race. It's the $125,000 Aqueduct Turf Sprint Championship. It's an ungraded stake, going 6 furlongs on the outer turf. Chances are the race will stay on the turf, unless you have a deluge. But I think the rain probably start around this time, a little bit after 3:34. I guess what I saw on the phone. So most likely the race will be on the turf. I mean, the turf could get a little softer and stuff. So this is a nice race for 3 years and up, 6 furlongs. Other than Disco Partner, who's like the world record holder, I find this race a little wide open if he doesn't fire. So I'm gonna lean towards. I mean, he'll be at my ticket, of course, but I'm gonna lean towards a horse that's has been running well at this distance. Try something different. His name is number 8, White Flag. He cuts back to 6 furlongs after trying a mile at Santa Anita. He ran in the City of Hope's mile. Clement runs it back here. Robert Evans, their local owner trainer here. So I think he's best going here, 6 furlongs. He's 5 races, 2 wins, 1 second, 1 third. He's got good tackle speed, and he probably gets good first run on the leaders. And I'm also looking at my second choice, who's coming from the back, and that would be number 9, Disco Partner. He's a lovely gray horse who just shoots hard from the back. He usually fires late with his big leg, big kick in the stretch. And we got Rosario. He loves 6 furlongs. He's 6 for 9 with 2 seconds. Like I said before, he's the world record holder, and he ran in a Chris Belmont Turf 2 years ago in like 105.67, I believe. But I don't think that'll happen today. The turf is a little different now. The ground's a little different. So, but Clemente Rosario is still at 31% lately, and he's a good horse. He fires. So, to try and stay alive, he'll be my ticket. I'm going for a deep guys anyway. So, I do like number 3, Kitten's Cat. A little long shot here. This is the I'm giving it just another chance. We got the Ramses, Maker, Louis Sires. He ran in the neurotic stakes at Woodbine. He had traffic, but he had a good figure there. So I gave him a little forgiveness there. And despite breaking 10th, he hit traffic and he had a good effort two back. He won an absolute claiming protected race in a good time. That's a pretty good time for Woodbine, 108-1. So he's in good form. Take a shot here at 12-1 with this horse. I also like number 1, Hembry. He won the same race that Kitten's Cat was in, the Erratic Stakes. And he broke slowly. He's coming off the Breeders' Cup Sprint, his last race, and that race, he's got the best of the best. He broke slowly, had a horrible trip. So just tossed that race out as a yielding tough course. And based on his last 2, he had 2 wins. I'll give him a shot with Jose Ortiz, with Mike Maker also. And, Jose, 4 for 43, that won't last long. He'll heat up soon before he goes to Florida. So, I expect it to be a big day for him and a big weekend. So I'll include him on a ticket too. Hembry at 8-1. So for my pick 4, which is race 7, I'm going to be going 8, 9, 3, and 1. Rich, how is it over there in Del Mar?
Well, as usual, look pretty nice over here in Del Mar as far as the weather is concerned. Everything there, but that's nothing unusual as far as we're concerned here. The pick 4 does begin in race number 6, and that is at approximately 6 p.m. Eastern time. In race number 6, they are going 1 mile on the main surface, which is dirt here in the Del Mar. It is from the Calvert Owners Fund. It is for 3-year-olds and upward, which have never won $10,000 once, other than maiden, claiming, or starter, or which have never won 2 races, or claiming price of $40,000, whichever one you like. All right. And here in this race, it's a tough race. As a matter of fact, this is a tough little sequence that I drew here. And again, as we often do here on Three Broke Guys Handicapping, especially here at Del Mar, especially at Santa Anita, especially at Los Al, we really do like to handicap that back page first. And I think it's noteworthy here to look at the fact that 43% of a nice sample size are going wire to wire here at Del Mar. And I've been watching Del Mar this meet. And noticing that speed is doing very well, as always. And as you see here, you're getting 79% of the time, just about 4 to 5 races going to your speed types in these 1 mile dirt affairs. So I decided to stay to the speed in this particular race. My check mark ends up on a Jerry Hollendorfer horse by the name of Jungle Warfare. It's got Drayden Van Dyke aboard. Not necessarily a magical combination, as you see there. They've only had 1 hookup so far this year, but Drayden Van Dyke, I think, has separated himself from the other part of the pack and moved up as one of the top jockeys out here on the West Coast, and indeed probably one of the better jockeys all the way across the country. This horse, in his last race there, he did finish second to a horse named Surfing Star. That was a 10-horse affair. And that was at Santa Anita there at the fall meet. We used to call it the Oak Tree meet. And before that, he had a couple of good stretch out or what it looked like to me, what would have been good speed affairs that show that he's ready to stretch out. Again, I was kind of looking for someone who's got that EP up here. Hollendorfer is a solid trainer. And again, Van Dyke, one of my favorite riders there. So he didn't really come through for us in October. But there was no way I was going to leave this horse out. Kershaw came out, and he had the reputation, although they had dropped him down to maiden, claiming to get the win. He does have a win and a second here at Del Mar. He's got his 1 win is at this distance, and it is here. It was at Santa Anita, and that was in October, ironically enough, for Kershaw. It was only a 5-horse affair, but I thought with the company they drew here, you've got Phil D'Amato, and if you look over here, this was kind of interesting. I thought, although I mean, again, not a big sample size, but when he uses Heriberto Figueroa, he wins with Heriberto Figueroa. So they've got a 67% connection rate together there. And again, looking for those speed types. This actually could be speed of speed in this particular race. And then finally, I guess because we do have a $50 limit. I don't normally have that here, but since I do have it, I'm not going to waste it. We've got a second Jerry Hollendorfer horse here, and I thought, in the end, when I finished it up, I looked back, and Joe and Ray, honestly, I had to look at myself in the mirror and sit there and say, really? You're going to split Hollendorfers after all this time together and on the show and everything that you guys have done? I thought that it just didn't seem like it made a lot of sense to me. So I did use the second Jerry Hollendorf horse. I know it's not necessarily a speed type, but Popular Kid has shown, especially with Kent Stormer aboard, he can certainly sit a trip and kind of stalk the pace there. And again, it's a 1 mile affair. He's the horse that actually has quite a bit of experience. He's got 4 victories. He's 4 for 13. Lifetime at the 1 mile distance, and he's 2 for 4 here at Del Mar. So, although again my check mark ends up on the 4, and the 3 was the horse that I covered first, I couldn't quite throw out the favorite here, and ended up just going with 3, 4, 5, using those 3 in the middle. And quite frankly, I thought it was a tough race, so I thought there was some potential there for me to go a little bit deeper if I needed to. I end up on 3, 4, 5. If I'm not mistaken, I believe Ray has 8, 9, 3, and 1. And Joe, who hit leadoff for us there in that inning, just started off a little bit conservative. He's just got the 5 and the 8. Correct?
Yes. Let's
Yes,
make sure
sir.
everybody knows these are different sequences. We're not making those picks in the same race.
Yeah. And just to emphasize that, Joe, I'll even come back. Hi, everybody. I'm back just to kind of emphasize that we're moving on to leg 2 of the pick 4 here. So, Ray, you started off there. I believe you were in leg number 7. And Joe, you were in leg number 9. And that was at Churchill Downs. And Rich, I was there at I was in race number 6. And that was at Del Mar. And if I am not mistaken, I believe in race number 9, we're going to switch things up here. Ray, you are hitting leadoff for us, and that means that you are at race number 8 from Aqueduct.
Okay, race 8, Aqueduct, the post time.
We don't need those
post time.
anymore.
All right, not my post time. 30 minutes after.
Yeah, approximately 30 minutes after.
Whatever it is. All right, we got 6 furlongs here. Allowance 75,000, 9 winners of 1. There's a lot of stuff here. Up to 13,050 New York State birds for 3-year-olds and up, which have never won more than 10,000, other than maiden claim starter, state bird, allowance, all which have never won 2 races, and 3-year-olds only. So it's a lot there. But the owners, the trainers, they know what to do. They put their horses here. So for me, it's a 9 winners of 1 state birds. This race, and like you said, Aqueduct, sometimes you tend to play for speed. And like the back page, like Richard said before, looking at 81% winners in this 32 race sequence. Aqueduct just started in early November. Basically, I did look for speed here, and I found a couple horses here. My top choice here is number 2, Fully Vested. He's 3-1, and Thomas Albertrani. He showed speed and just tired last time on Belmont. He has speed. He had a nice bridge 98 figure. He's got Godolphin, Albertrani, Jose Ortiz, who's humping. He's gonna have a good weekend, like I said. He should be able to get out of his condition. This horse, he has a good second. And I mean, although his 2 good races on the slop, he did run well in I'm picking this horse based on actually his Saratoga race, which is 2 back. He ran a good 4th to some good horses in a 9 winners of 1. Saratoga gets horses from everywhere. It's a very good meet. And I think that race earns more quality than the other 2 Belmont races and the other race that he did win in the slop. So based on that race, I think he's going to be very competitive here. and Jose Ortiz should give him a very good ride. He's from the inside. He should bolt out and have a good position and hopefully win the race. I also like number 3, Identity Politics, with the other Ortiz. All right, so I'm going Ortiz here. Chad Brown tried him on grass last time. He ran okay. Um, I'm sorry. He tried him grass two races back, so he did run well on the grass in Saratoga, but Belmont they had it off the turf and he did win. So now he really exploded. So I guess Chad Brown says, what? Let me keep him on the dirt. He might like the dirt better. He ran well on the grass, so I mean he looks like he has some talent. So based on that win last time, Chad Brown probably keep on the turf. Keep on the dirt and run 6 furlongs here. So I really think that Identity Politics could close if fully vested tires, and I think I can have a good 1-2 punch there. I'm only gonna go too deep here. I'm keeping it light for this race. I have a big race the next race, so I'm gonna go 2-3 in the 8th race of Aqueduct. Joe?
No, it's actually gonna be Rich.
Oh, Rich. Okay.
I'm gonna come up next year. I just have I have a question, Ray.
Yeah.
I'm gonna send it to you, but and Ray, I'm gonna invite Joe into it. Who's the owner here for Clarovich Stables? That's the second race in a row that I've seen them on an Into Mischief sired horse. That was the race before you had that as well.
The Clarovich?
Yeah, Clarovich. Who is that?
Goodness.
Who owns it?
I think.
I'm not really sure.
I think I know his name, but I don't want to say it for sure. We can look it up.
I know it's a very popular stable for Chad Brown. They got the KS with the white and the red. That I know.
Okay. Rich, we'll look it up. And
all right. Yeah. Okay. Oh.
So I've noticed that for the first 2 races there. I had a curiosity myself. All right, moving along, and we are back out on the West Coast. Ray, thank you for that analysis. And again, we are Del Mar Racing here for race number 7. They are going 1 mile and a 16th on the turf. It is the Seabiscuit Handicap. It's a grade 2. Purse is $200,000 to 3-year-olds and upward. I really wanted to go on a wax philosophic, you guys. I was hoping that we would actually cover the Seabiscuit Handicap for the main race, and that way I can go into my Wikipedia. But I am just going to advise any fans who are watching the show, for the few fans that we have that are watching the show, go ahead and Wikipedia Seabiscuit, because I will go ahead and take up way too much time, and then my throat's going to get all choked up. As a matter of fact, we're going into the holiday season. That's my holiday movie. I don't know what your holiday movie is. I've heard some other people watch It's a Wonderful Life or some other stuff and things like that. But if you're a horse player, you watch Seabiscuit. So race number 7, I kind of I still followed my same analysis. I always kind of go to that back page first. Here at Del Mar, the turf has actually played a little bit fair. We've had just a little touch of rain, and when I say a little touch of rain, I mean a really little touch of tiny rain, but it softened up the turf course just a bit. To that effect, a horse named India Mantawana ran off with the marathon race the other day. The red carpet on Thanksgiving Day, 1.5 mile race, went to a horse that was on the lead the entire way, all the way around. So put that in your handicapping book. You still get 40% of the time. Out of 5 races here, you get 20% actually are going to wire. You get 40% of the time, so that's 2 out of 5 are going to the early or to the speed type. So I would say the turf course is just playing fair right now. And as it turns out, I ended up with my check mark here. I believe is on the number 7 horse, which is Synchrony. And unfortunately, I couldn't do anything about that. It's 9-2 on the morning line. That is the favorite. It is trained by Michael Stidham, ridden by Jersey Joe Bravo, comes out from the East Coast. You've heard it a number of times on this show. I essentially handicap turf races by first checking to see if there are any East Coast invaders. And in this case, there's one, not only an East Coast invader, but it happens to be a very good one. One who finished 3rd back out at Arlington Park there in July. That's in the Arlington Handicap. Then went to Monmouth, had a couple of wins over there at Monmouth with Jersey Joe Bravo aboard, and then tried the Shadwell Turf Mile. No shame in finishing 7th by 6 1/4 lengths. That's a very, very tough field. And then coming out to California, you would think this horse just has a natural advantage. That being said, I didn't single. If I'm not mistaken, there is another horse that's in here. I don't know who Jessica Harrington is, although I'm assuming that she might be related to Mike Harrington or the Harrington family out here somehow, and somehow has lured Mike Smith to ride this horse. First time over from Europe. Just yesterday on Thanksgiving Day, a horse from Europe, I believe the horse's name is Amandi, won in just exactly these conditions. Not for Jessica Harrington, for someone else, but just the same. Again, I always look for that scary new face from another place when it comes to the turf out here in California. So I've got both those on as my top two horses. I've got the 7 and the 4. And if I'm not mistaken, I also included the 1, which is Caribou Club, kind of in between being a California horse and an East Coast turf horse. As you can see there, the trainer is Thomas Proctor, and he's using Joe Talamo today. Has won or has raced successfully over on the East Coast. You see some performances down there from Fairgrounds. You see Laurel. You see Woodbine, a couple of performances at Woodbine, and then came back over here. Not usually, excuse me, not usually the pop that I expect to see, but then again, this is the Del Mar Mile, which is a grade 2, and then this is the Eddie D, which is a grade 3, and finished third, just 3/4 of a length off of that. For those of you who are not big fans of the racing, that's Stormy Liberal, and he went on to win the Breeders' Cup Sprint there in November. So he finished within 3/4 of a length of Stormy Liberal. So I'm going to use the 7 as my top pick on top because that's the East Coast Invader. The 4 is the European Invader that's in there, and the 1 is almost like the hybrid Invader. But one of those 3 horses is going to take it home. And again, I've got a little bit bigger of a budget to work with on this one. So I went 7-4-1 in that race. And instead of handing it over to Jersey Joe Bravo, I am going to hand it over to Jersey Joe English.
Jersey Joe. You got William Hill Sportsbook. Jersey Joe.
Rich, I'm
Look at those fractions. Wow. Shit.
Get myself in trouble.
Rich. Klarovich Stable, Seth Klarman, the owner. He and I guess a friend of his, Jeff Ravitch, bought horses together for about a decade, and that's they came up with the stable name Klarovich. But Ravitch left to start his own stable out on the West Coast, so Klarman is the only guy who runs horses out of
Klarovich Stables
using the name Klarovich.
Nice.
Just so that there you go. Now see, we educate as well.
See, exactly. Thank you.
You're welcome. My second leg for me is race 10. It's a mile, a 1-turn mile. Just like Ray was saying, non-winners are 1. I'm not going to for 2-year-olds. Non-winners are or a claiming price $75,000. Basically, the non-winners are 1. But it's open to pretty much every state breds. And if you want to run for the claiming price of $75,000, you can do that as well. And I believe only one horse decided to nominate and be up for a claim. Unfortunately, that horse is not on my ticket. I think the horse is probably that horse is shipping in from Belterra Park, so I'm thinking $75,000 is pretty safe. So the horses that I went with on top in race 10 at Churchill is a horse. I don't want to say I'm 1,000% behind, but I will use the 11 as my top choice, and the horse's name is 1,000%. He's trained by Susan. And funny, Rich, I while you were talking, I was looking at the back page for the Churchill race, and it's actually funny because the E types and the S types do okay, but at this distance at Churchill Downs, it looks like it's more a tactical speed issue, where you could see the middle portion of it is about 67%. So so you need more tactical speed than you need early speed, and I think two of the horses that I do like are coming out of sprints. So I would assume they'll be at least forwardly placed. They don't have to necessarily be on the lead. I wouldn't expect them to be on the lead. But 1,000% is a horse who has tactical speed. He won a maiden claiming for $50,000. He's been competitive in 2 races at Churchill since a little bit of a layoff at 6 furlongs. Unfortunately, he got beat both times at short odds, once at 1-2 and once at 2-5. So that doesn't bode well. But the horse is going to be 8-1 today, 3 times in the exact at Churchill. The first race, you never know what you're going to get in the first race. he was close up in the first race and obviously faded, but he's run much better since that. And generally for Steve Asmussen horses, that's not necessarily unusual. He doesn't generally try to win first time out. And Corey Lanery's been pretty hot down at Churchill. I think he won 4 races, not today, but yesterday. He did have a winner today as well. So he's obviously doing well down at Churchill. And again, if you're riding for the Steve Asmussen barn, you're doing okay. So I like 1,000%. He's one of my top choices. The second choice for me in the race is the 9, King Ford. Again, it's that Kenny McPeak, Brian Hernandez combination. I like the fact that he ran, he won over a distance or ground to break his maiden last time out. He was 9-1 that day. I like the fact that it was at Churchill Downs. So obviously another horse who likes Churchill Downs. And again, it's McPeak and Hernandez. Hernandez was up that day. He drew a little bit outside, which going 8 furlongs, going the mile around the one turn. I'd rather be outside than inside. So I used King Ford on my ticket. And the other horse I used is and he's 7-2 on the morning line, and 1,000% is 8-1. The other horse I'm going to use is the 12, Classic Czar, and he's the other Asmussen. And if you notice, Rafael Santana decided he had the choice, I'm assuming, and he's decided to ride Classic Czar, who's also coming out of a $50,000 maiden claimer at Churchill at 5.5 furlongs, but the horse won by 7. He won going away. The speed figures were not fantastic, which is why I wouldn't have him necessarily as a single or as even a top choice. Generally, horses who run big first time out, when they run slow, pace figures are exposed when they run against winners for the first time. But then again, there aren't a lot of horses who've won against winners in this field, so it's not something that he can't do. And again, you're talking Asmussen Santana, 22% connection over the last 60 days, and the horse is out of Tapazar, and the horse, obviously, I think the horse can get a mile out of a Gone West mare, and just like 1,000% is out of Golden Sense, out of a prize mare. So obviously, Golden Sense won the Breeders' Cup Mile twice. So I'm sorry, let me rephrase that: Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile twice. To me, the knocks on Classic Star is that the horse hasn't worked that much. He's stretching out for the first time. He's facing winners for the first time. So I wouldn't take a short price on him. And what was funny is I looked at the PPs and I saw 15-1. That to me doesn't make a lot of sense for a horse who just won by 7. And Rafael Santana gets aboard and stays aboard, as opposed to taking the other a little bit more accomplished 1,000% for the Asmussen barn. So I just went 3 deep here. Obviously, this is a field of it's a field of 12 with 2 also eligible, so 14 entered. And again, I like the outside post. I was staying away from the horses on the inside. So I went 11, 9, 12 in race 10 at Churchill Downs. So, Rich, I will kick it back over to you.
Nicely done, sir. Let me come on back here. Just to give us the feeling of a little changeover, even though there's not going to be that much changeover. But interestingly enough, it's one of the few weeks that you ever get to see it where I'm actually hitting leadoff for one of the weeks. So we are moving along here, and we are on to, well, at Del Mar Racing, at least apparently, it is race number 8. They are going 6 furlongs on the dirt track, claiming $16,000 for non-winners of 3. The purse is $20,000 for 3-year-olds and upward, which have never won 3 races. Here we go. If I'm not mistaken, my top choice in this race is in post number 6, and this is the Mike Pipey trained and Tyler Bays ridden its Face of Victory. And again, if you're looking for my logic, we always start off on the back page in these races. This is a 6 furlong dirt race. It doesn't take a whole lot of logic to figure out in California to just get to the front to win. 29% of the time, you're looking at horses that go wire to wire. Again, you're looking at 86% of the time, horses that are on or near the lead are going to go ahead and win this type of race. So I was, again, just looking for those horses that were E or EP types. Tyler Bays, Mike Pipey trainer horse here fits the bill. I believe this should be Speed of Speed here in the early going. And that was really what I was looking for. As you see there, he's kind of got that kind of funny thing. 100% trainer who drops off the win although not necessarily a move of confidence, but was up at a higher level, $25,000 in a 7 furlong race. And I thought the horse would be able to get to the early lead. Incidentally, I mentioned that horse, India Montawana, who won the turf marathon race earlier this week. That was also Tyler Bates, who snuck away aboard that horse. My second choice, if I'm not mistaken, is the 3 Tanner's Pride. And this is Brian Corner and Joe Talamo, almost the exact same angle. I thought that it's either going to be him or the 6 who's going to be on the lead about it. Again, you're getting Joe Talamo. The best speed here is among the starters, the best starters' speed here. And Corner's been hot these last few days. So 40, as you see there, 40% out of his last 10 starts. That being said, and I wanted to do it, I wanted to try and go past the favorite here, but I couldn't quite see it because Spokane Eagle with Tiago Pereira for Jack Carava. Again, these two have what looks like a nice little combination or a nice little connection going here, hitting 67% together. And having been at this speed or at this distance, I thought Spokane Eagle really needed to be on your tickets as well. I went 3 deep again. So far in this leg, I've gone 3 times 3 times 3. I've got the 6, the 3, and the 5 in leg number 8 at Del Mar. And if I'm not mistaken, I am handing off back to Joe English.
It's fine by me. No worries. Okay. Race 11 is the mile and the 16th Kentucky Jockey Club Stakes Grade 2 for 2-year-olds, 2-year-old males. Actually, it's not restricted to 2-year-old males. It's for 2-year-olds only, and the purse is for $200,000. This is a stake, obviously, on the path to the Triple Crown coming up next year. Obviously, there's no Bob Baffert horses in it, so how much of a factor will it be? Who knows? So you can. I guess that remains to be seen. The mutual pool, and he's got no in this race. I mean, is it really a factor or not? I guess we'll figure it out later. So I went with my what I guess what's turning out to be my favorite combination of the weekend is the Kenny McPeak, Brian Hernandez aboard Signalman. The horse ran in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, ran third, not a bad race behind Nick's Go and Game Winner, and he was marooned in post 13. He obviously gets a much improved post today. He gets the rail, so he'll be able to save a lot more ground. He was also second to Nick's Go in the Breeders' Futurity. That day he drew the rail. He got beat by 5.5 by Nick, by Nick's Go. After a little bit of a rough trip. I mean, I'm not going to take anything away from what Nick's Go did that day. But again, I think this horse will be improved. He's dropping out of two grade ones. I mean, but he's placed in 2 grade ones, so he's obviously shown a little bit of quality. And basically, 2 runs at Churchill Downs, both in the money, a second and a third, again, including the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Again, he was marooned in the outside post that day and was able to get up for third. And he was clear of the rest of the field, 6 1/4 lengths. So the post position draw, the workouts looked pretty solid before that race, before the Breeders' Cup, and he ran well enough in the Breeders' Cup. So I don't think he necessarily needs any more workouts. I think he'll be fine just the way he is. And again, I like the McPeak Hernandez combination. They're basically Kentucky royalty down at Churchill. So he's going to be my top choice, and he's 5-2 on the morning line, unfortunately. My second choice is a horse who's actually trying dirt for the first time, but I like the pedigree and I like what the horse has been able to do in the horse number 9 Current. Todd Pletcher trainee Javier Castellano gets aboard for the first time, but the horse won the Grade 3 Bourbon at Keeneland, just getting up by a nose on the grass course. Split the field in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf, finishing 7th, only beaten 6 1/4 lengths. Yielding turf course, maybe that was something that he wasn't necessarily comfortable in. Apparently, it's the trackman's comment says that he was unprepared for the start, which of course doesn't necessarily help in a 12 horse field. He was 14th at the beginning of the race at the start, so he came from well back. I mean, he split the field and he made up some ground late. Looks like the pace was pretty fast that day. But the fact is he's by Curlin out of a Storm Cat mare. And obviously he's worked on the dirt before. He's not exclusively been working on the turf. So I'm going to give this horse a shot, seeing he's got some quality. Pletcher's putting the horse on the dirt for the first time. And again, Javier Castellano gets aboard. And that connection over the past 60 days is 36%. So that would be 5 out of 14. And again, it's positive ROI with those two together. And it's 15-1 on the morning line.
Wow.
So I will take that. I will put him on my ticket. And the last horse I will use, I would have probably made Knicks Go my top choice. He's the most accomplished in the field. Again, Grade 1 winner, Grade 1 placed in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Just that horrific draw of post 13. He's obviously a speed horse, so he's going to go. The only question is how many horses inside of him are going to go too. And it kind of looks like, if you look at Mixed Star, he was running in sprint races on the dirt, and so he might show some speed. King for a Day, just inside of Knicks Go, might go with him and show some speed. And that's just two horses. Manny Waugh could show some speed. Dunn could show speed. Royal Earn as well. So Knicks Go, if so inclined, he's either going to have to beat the break. He's going to have to get a flyer out of the gate and beat those horses to the punch, or God forbid, he could be 4, 5, 6 wide on that first turn. Now, again, he's the most accomplished in the field, so it's not that he can't win the race anyway. But taking 2-1 on a horse like that in a race like this, I'm not necessarily sure I would be too happy with. Again, I'm trying to get through each individual leg. And as the 2-1 favorite, again, the most accomplished has to be on my ticket. But I'm kind of hoping that not that I'm wishing he gets beat, but like I said, he's the least of my choices. I have to use him, but I'm leaning more playing against him. If push came to shove and I didn't have a $45 budget or $50 budget and a $45 ticket, I would probably toss Knicks Go, sadly. But I'm going to use him anyway. So for me, it's the 1 Signalman, the 9 Current, and the 13 Knicks Go in the Kentucky Jockey Club at Churchill on Saturday. So I guess I'm handing it off to Ray. So Ray, leg 3 of your sequence is
race 9, Aqueduct. It's the Grade 3, the feature race, the Long Island Handicap. 1 mile 3/8 on the turf. That's 11 furlongs. 400,000 for fillies and mares 3-year-olds and up. It's a very wide open field. We have a field of 14, but we also have 3 main track onlys. So chances are, I would probably say the race will stay on the turf. So those horses will be scratched. And they are Sexy Reasons, number 9, number 13, Unbridled Adventure, and number 14, Maddie's Magnum. So most likely they won't be in the race. So I'm thinking a field of 11. We have 3 Chad Browns. I'm going kind of Keno here. I'm going 5 deep. We got 3 Chad Browns. I'm going to use all of them and a few other horses. My top choice here, the 3 Chad Brown triple, the triple Chad Brown. I'm going to box the triple. My top choice actually is number 1, Polara. This is a 3-year-old horse that Chad Brown got from France. Bring her over from France, and he raced her straight into the Woodbine E.P. Taylor Grade 1. So that's a tall task, I tell you. And she was bet down too, 7-2. So she got some respect. She had the first time Lasix. She had the best of trip. Josh with the starter says. She ran an even 6th. The pace was slow. They came on fast. So basically, she really had no chance. I'm going to forgive that race. And I think she went better here on a little firmer course. She's 3-1. I also like number 10, Lady Panamine. She's 9-2. She's also from France. Get a lot of these horses that come off from the Europe. Also trained by Chad Brown, Irad Ortiz. She won her first race off a year layoff, coming from France, an optional claiming race 9 winners of 1. She won by a nose, so that was pretty good. She was fit for that race. Um, so the distance here should not be an issue. She's been running over there in a mile and a half on 9/16, and so Irad Ortiz gets the mount, and this horse should really run well. Second race off the layoff of Chad Brown from the 10 hole. I do like number 2, Lady Montour. This horse could be the pace setter for Top Malpatrani. Good off and stable. Manny Franco gets aboard. She ran pretty good in the Flower Bowl. She could be very dangerous here. Speed, usually in these races, sometimes they set a slow pace, can go all the way. They may not catch them. So I'm going to play this horse. She's been freshened since the Flower Bowl. A good, about almost, it says 48 days. So 48 days, it's October 7th. She hasn't run in the Grade 1 Flower Bowl. She ran third to a few good horses there, the 4-Star Creek. And, Godolphin and Dolly Stable, they probably point this race. Albatroni, it's a good race. $400,000, so they're in there. I do like number 11, Knight of England. This horse is from Germany. It just has off a 3-month layoff. She placed and she showed in the Grade 1s in Germany. And I think this horse kind of is a little bit of raced here in Belmont in the pump. I'm sorry, Jose Ortiz has the mount, and she's been placed in the Germany, and she's the first race here off Fillet 6. And Jose Ortiz is aboard. This is the third of Chad Brown's horses, and I'm going to play all of them. I also like number 3, Pamina. Michael Dickinson runs his horse back on 3 weeks layoff. And hold on, let me get my papers here. At Woodbine, it was on a Tapeta track. And she needed that race off the layoff. Second race here, she could be more fit. This is the connection of Prado and Augustine Stable. This is, you remember Spring Quality, who won that big race in Belmont Day? She's 20-1, so I think I'm going to use her on my ticket because, I'm looking for a long shot here. So I'm going to go 5 deep, guys, here. I'm going to go 1, 10, 2, 11, and 3. It was a real tricky race for me, so I had to use a lot of horses. Rich?
I just got to clarify that one, right? Did you go 2, 11, and 3 there at the end, or 2, 11, and 8? 2, 11, wait. Oh, yeah, 8. I'm sorry, 8. Yeah, 8. Okay. I thought that. That's
the wrong number. Yeah.
That's yours and my old friend Pamina.
Pamina, yes.
Yeah, we hit her. We hit her a couple of times earlier this year. So all right. And you know what? So that's going to wrap us up there for the third leg. And let me go ahead and come back for the final leg here. Sorry about that, folks. All right, so we are on to our concluding leg. We're going to be back up to the top of our lineup. It's going to be Joe English. He's hitting lead off for us. And Joe, why don't you go ahead and take it away in the final leg of the Pick 4?
All right, good thing, Rich. I have plenty of funds left, so I'm going to use.
Look out!
I don't want to say a lot of horses, but I'm going to use horses in this race. Actually, I thought I was going to go 5 deep. I guess my ticket's going to be cheaper than I thought. Okay. 12th race, mile and 16th for maiden 2-year-olds. Obviously, that's the theme of the Churchill Downs track. I think actually all of their races might be for 2-year-olds on Saturday. 2-year-old maidens, purse is $76,000, includes $10,900 from Kentucky Thoroughbred Development Fund. Sorry, Rich, I had to do that because you usually do that.
Oh, heck yeah.
Again, wide open race, field of 12 with 4 also eligible, so 16 entered in this spot.
Wow.
Simple.
Yeah,
just go ahead. That's easy.
Well, the track is wide enough that if they wanted to run all 16, obviously they could, but they don't. 2-year-old means give them a break. Let them run if they can make it to the Derby and they want to run in the field of 20. Let them do so. My top choice in this race I went to, even though I don't necessarily like horses that draw on the outside in races that are, have short runs to the first turn, I went with the 11 Bundi Bunan, I'm assuming is the name of the horse. Ignacio Correas trains and 33% at the meet. Johnny V gets up. Jose Ortiz rode last time. Horse is stretching out two-turn race and beating out of Ghost Zapper. I don't think the distance is an issue. If you look at the sire and the dam stats as far as distance goes, I think that's pretty much okay. 7.2 furlongs and 9.8 furlongs average winning distance. So I'm guessing the first race might have been a little bit short for this horse. And of course, he drew the rail that day, broke poorly, was 8th early, did some running and did not run too badly to finish 5th by 2 1/4. And those maiden races at Keeneland are kind of tough, as we all know. Again, I think the horse will be able to stretch out just fine. The horse has been working consistently over the Keeneland track, at least, 2 works since the last race. And, nothing flashy, but definitely consistent. Again, one of the horses that's in one of the earlier non-winners races, So Alive, who I did not choose, won that race. So if So Alive happens to knock me out of the Pick4, you can take that and say, okay, that's a good sign because Bundi Bunan finished 5th behind that one in that race. So I went with that angle. I figured, like I said, he's bred to run longer. Second time out, Johnny V gets aboard. So I'm going to use the 11 as my top choice. The second choice is the 6 locally owned. This is his first time going 2 turns. Another, again, who will need to prove that he can do it. But again, distorted humor out of 50 Shades of Hay, who, if I remember right, I don't know that she's ever been on the show, but I remember seeing that she was a stakes winner in her career. He finished second in his only 2 starts, 1 at Churchill Downs and 1 at Keeneland, again, both in local maiden races. A horse has a little bit more tactical speed. As you see, the second call has been, length and 3/4 or 2.5 lengths back. Sean Bridgman stays. Al Stall, again, 29% for the meet. Again, as Rich said, small sample size, 25% for the trainer-jockey combination of Al Stall and Sean Bridgman. Third race is usually the best race. And again, the horse just has to get over second-itis. But he's 3 to 1 on the morning line, so I'll use him as well. $250,000 yearling purchase at Keeneland back in 2016. Third choice is a D. Wayne Lucas trainee, the number 2 Derby Date, which we all think we have or wish we had. I mean, we know the date of the race, obviously, but the horse is coming out of Grade 1 races. Obviously, has not fared well in Grade 1 races, but obviously, D. Wayne Lucas likes to take his shots, and he likes to be there on the big days. And the funny part is like, well, yeah, he's 1 for 33. Well, if he's running maidens in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, what do you expect to happen? Of course, he's going to be 1 for 33. Obviously, Declan Cannon gets aboard, but he's having a pretty solid meet, 16%. Again, the horse has gone 2 turns, and this is obviously much easier company than keeping before. The last time he was in a maiden race, it was at Saratoga. Finished second by 3 in a field of 8 in a race where he bobbled at the start. So the horse obviously has a little bit of ability. I just hope that D. Wayne hasn't just taken his heart out by getting his head kicked in the last 3 times in Grade 1 races for this Calumet Farm owned horse. So Derby Date would be my third choice, and my fourth and final horse will be the 10 War of Will, who's another horse who has not tried dirt before. But it's funny, I was looking at the recent results, and I saw that Tyler Gaffalione had won 4 races today, but he's not on any of my picks. I was like, okay, I've got to use a Tyler Gaffalione horse, and this horse obviously has been running in turf stakes at Woodbine, at Keeneland, and of course the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. Finished 5th in that race out of 14. That's not bad. Obviously earned some money for that. But the horse has worked on dirt before, and I have no illusions Warfront horses can obviously get going on the dirt. Again, like they said, they work in the morning on the dirt all the time, and he's got a couple of nice works. 1 bullet back at Woodbine, which technically isn't. And I guess I that's a question I can ask Rich. Rich, do you know if the Woodbine training track? I mean, I guess that's the Woodbine main track, though, but they don't give you a symbol that shows that that's actually on the Tapeta surface, or if there's a training track inside that's maybe actually dirt.
I believe it's all Tapeta there, though.
Okay.
To be him.
Okay. But anyway, I mean, that notwithstanding, the horse has been working on dirt. He's been working at Keeneland, 4 furlong drills in the interim between his races. So I don't think there's any issue that the horse can't run on dirt. I don't know that I want to take him at a short price, and he's 5-2 on the morning line. But again, he's the most accomplished in the field, and he's dropping in class. Like I said, the one time he ran in the maiden race, he was third, beaten 4 1/4 lengths again at Woodbine on the grass. I think he'll be able to run on dirt. Tyler, like I said, Tyler Gaffleon's pretty hot down there. He won 4 races today. Like I said, I wouldn't necessarily want to take 5-2, but again, you're trying to get winners in the pick 4, and you don't want to leave a horse who has ability out if you can help it. If you can go deep enough to include him. So I went 11, 6, 2, and 10 in the finale of my pick 4 at Churchill Downs. So Ray, the late pick 4, what's the last leg, and how deep did you go?
Race 10, Aqueduct. It's on the outer turf. Well, I've gone what? Let's see, 4, 2, and 5. This is a kind of simple down. It's a maiden race for 2-year-olds for the New York State breds. 6 furlongs on the outer turf. I hope NYO doesn't screw this up and take it off the turf, because there's actually 3 horses again on the MTO, main track only, which if the race stays on the turf will be scratched. There's a field of a lot of horses. They have here right now 15 numbers with 1 AE and 3 MTOs. So I'm going to say field of 11 if the race stays on the turf. So I kind of went, well, I was going to single a horse here, but now since I have that budget $50, I can go 2 deep, because there was 2 horses I did like. So my top choice here, and in this race, I'm looking for a little bit of speed. And I like number 7, Mike's Girl. Mike's Girl is a horse, Midwest Thoroughbreds owners. This horse was from Steve Asmussen, 1 race back, now trained by Armando de la Cerda. And this horse has some good speed. And at 6 furlongs, I like speed on the turf. If she runs back to her 2 Saratoga races, she's going to do very well here, and she should lay over this field, I believe. Lewis Size gets the mount, and she's my top choice, number 7. I also like number 3, Jot. This race is usable for me, whether the race is on the turf or off the turf. This race has run in 3 off the turfers and had good speed also. So I think this horse will compete with Mike's Girl for the lead, and these 2 might run around track like a 1-2. Linda Rice trains. I rather teases the board. And this horse, she has had the lead a few times and tied lately, late in the stretch. So now this is her 2nd race off the layoff. And I think she's going to do a little better here and hold on with also Mike's Girl. So I'm just going to go 2 deep here, a little slim for $40 ticket for me. And I'm going to go 7-3, guys. In the last race of Aqueduct. Joe? No, Rich. Should be Rich, right? Yeah, Rich.
No, you're going to hand it off to me. I was
okay, Rich.
Trying to get back into my chair. I'm actually stunned here.
All right.
I only had
Rich, from the cold Aqueduct to the sunny beach weather of Del Mar.
I only had to write down 2 choices there for Ray, and things like that.
60-something is not beach weather.
Yes, yeah.
Like it, it's not.
Joe, I don't know if you ever noticed this before and things like that, but like when I write down everybody's,
oh, nice. There you go.
It's all written down. It's all written down here for everybody and things like that. And I don't know if everybody can see it here and things like that, but like I think on this side, Ray is you. You notice how neat my handwriting is when I have to write down Ray selections? I'm very, very careful about the space that I'm going to use, because I know I might have to just keep going and going and going all the way across.
You should do 2 pages, one for Ray's and one for mine.
Yeah, exactly. I could just do a joy page for the two of us.
Well, I'm telling you, if it's a 10-horse field, I go 7 deep. Bet the other 3 horses, okay? Please do it. Do it.
All right, here we go into the finale, last race of the Pick4 Wars. I am doing race number 9 here. Once again, all of these races are different racetracks. Joe English tonight. Thank you very much. Joe was covering Churchill Downs for you. Ray Torado from his comfy home there in New York. He was covering Aqueduct Racing, and of course, me from here in Murrieta, California. I was covering Del Mar Racing for you guys. This is the final race. This is race number 9 from Del Mar. 5 furlongs on the turf. Optional claiming $40,000 for non-winners of 1. Purse is $54,000 for fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and upward, which have never won $10,000 other than maiden, claiming, or starter, or which have never won 2 races, or if you want, go ahead and throw yourself in there for the claiming price of $40,000. Here we go. I swear to God, I really wanted to go ahead and violate our $50 budget for the first time in Three Broke Guys handicapping history of all people. I wanted to go over it by $4, so I need to borrow like $4 from either Ray or Joe here in this one. But my top choice in this race, believe it or not, is brought to you by Glen Hill Farms, and I'm going off the reservation a little bit. I'm out of my safe zone, you guys. This is a first-time turf starter. Its name is Happiness, owned by Glen Hill Farms, trained by Thomas Proctor. I'm not even sure who this jockey is, Koa Kyber. But the sire is Bodemeister. It's a first-time turf for Bodemeister. I'm actually sold on these horses. And the horse has shown some speed over on the East Coast. So over at Tampa and Laurel and Pimlico, the horse showed a little bit of speed. So I did throw the 7 in there as my top choice, but to show you that I was just a little bit of a chicken, you know what, I couldn't stick with just the 7. So really my top choice initially was what my wife is going to be if I keep hanging out with Joe on Sunday afternoons. Suspicious Spouse, number 1, trained by Peter Miller and ridden by Flavian Pratt. This horse has shown the kind of speed you like to see in a 5 furlong race. Even though he has the inside post, the one post there, in a 5 furlong race at Del Mar, that's not necessarily a hindrance. If we go down here and we take a look at our back page, you're going to see, again, 38% of the time these races do go to the wire-to-wire types, and 76% of the time you're going to see horses that are on the need to lead. And if you look at this, down here on the rail, 38% of the time you get horses that are on the rail. So, Sister Spouse, not only does he have maybe possibly even advantageous posts, he's got, even though he hasn't shown it lately, one of the better riders here on the West Coast, which is Flavian Pratt. So I did have the 1 initially as my top horse. I couldn't stick just with the 1. This is a bit of a tough spot to be in. So I did like Helen's Tiger, Smiling Tiger being the Tiger there. Doug O'Neill, Rafael Bejarano. At one point in time, a magical combination. They're still pretty solid, and Bejarano is still one of the best jockeys here on the West Coast. The horse has been nothing but solid in these types of races. So if you see there, the last 4, really, all 3 of them, Del Mar, 5 furlong turf races, second, first, second, all 3 of those there. And then a 4th place finish there at Santa Anita in a 5 furlong. Again, a tough affair. But at this level, failed his favorite in the last race. I do kind of like to bet that angle. I hate to say it, but those horses that kind of cough up at the shock, sometimes when you get a little bit of a better price that next time around, I do like to bet that. And unlike us, which, of course, if we could ever get the money to do it, what the name of our stable would be. These guys went with something that was completely opposite to us. I have no idea what they could have possibly been. They were Nice Guys stables. I have no idea what that name is. So I've got the 3 on there. And again, this is where you're going to catch me as a liar. So I've got to choose between the 7 and the 5 here. I do like Naughty Sophie. I don't like splitting the Peter Millers here. Pete's got a pair that's in here. I can't help but wonder what he's thinking. This was a first-time turf starter in his last try. And so Pete's got another one in there. He's got Tyler Bays. Tyler has shown a proclivity for being one of the better early riders. Again, I mentioned the fact that he just literally stole, I believe it was the Red Carpet Stakes yesterday on Thanksgiving Day, going 1.25 miles at Del Mar at 18-1 on India Mantawana. It just goes to show you that Tyler, if you let him go early there, they're not going to let him go tomorrow, obviously, in a 5-furlong sprint. You don't need to. If he's got the horse, if he's got the speed underneath him, he can actually take it all the way. So I didn't want to leave this horse out. I thought, well, you know what? I've got two buddies, and hopefully somebody didn't go over their $50 so I can borrow the $4 from them. But I've got 7, 1, 3, 5 for a $54 pick 4 here in my pick 4.
$2.
There you
I'll
go.
lend you $2. Yeah. Joe,
There you.
lend him $2.
What, yours is 48? I only went 36. I got plenty.
So there you go. So if you like, for the 3 broke guys, as we finally limit ourselves, I like I said, this is truly an epic day for me. I went 3 times 3 times 3 times 4. I just could not find a single or anything less than there that I liked, and so I'm all done. I've come back, and Joe and Ray are back. I know I'm way over on my time here, so I will go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and bring up what we have here on our pick 4 so far, and I will finish out the last few numbers on here right on the screen with you guys. All right. And here we go. And Ray just going ahead and put in the 7-3 on that last one, and I believe, as you saw there, I finally broke down and went 7, 1, 3. If it wasn't for the Bodie Meister there in that finale, I would have go ahead and stayed right in with just a 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. Which is, I thought, as long as we were doing the $50 budget, I thought that was going to be my strategy all along. But I do so love those Bodie Meister horses. All right, for those of you who can see it up on the screen. What was that?
You're missing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Wrong, and you're missing a couple on mine.
Okay, on yours, Joe.
Leg 2 should be 11, 9, 12. And leg 3 should include the 1, and it should be 1, 9, 13.
Yeah, my leg 3, number 3. I'm sorry, number 8.
Like that, Joe? 13, 1, 9, or?
Well, yeah, it's
1, 9, 13.
In order of preference, it's 1, 9, 13, but for our purpose, it's the same.
All right, there you go, like that.
And add the 8 on mine, leg 3, number 8. Pamina. Leg 3.
I apologize.
No, leg 3, yeah. This way. Perfect.
Got it like that. All right. So for Aqueduct, Ray, you've got 8, 9, 3, 1. If I'm not mistaken. Let's see here. If I get that correct. 8, 9, 3, 1. In leg 2, you've got 2, 3.
2, 3.
In leg 3, 1, 10, 2, 11, 8.
Yep.
And in your final leg, you went 7, 3.
7, 3.
All right. So 2 times 5 is 10. Times 2 is 20. You've got a $40 pick 4?
Yep. $40.
All right. Joe, and you were at Churchill Downs. You started off with leg 1. You've got 5, 8. In leg 2, you've got 11, 9, 12. In leg number 3, you've got 1, 9, 13. And in the finale, you've got 11, 6, 2, 10.
Correct.
So, Joe, you've got the slim down ticket here. You've just got the $24 ticket, right?
36.
36? Excuse me.
36.
And as I mentioned, I got a $54 ticket. I went 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 or times 4 to finish up there. And I started off with 3, 4, 5. I've got 7, 4, 1 in leg number 2. I've got 6, 3, 5 in leg number 2 or in 3, and 7, 1, 3, 5 in the final. and mine's actually a $54 ticket. I did violate the rules here of Three Broke Guys Handicapping by going over the $50 ticket. Just couldn't bear to leave that one out. I've borrowed $4 from my friends here. And I will go ahead and come on back to you guys. I'll let you guys go. It's been a long evening.
Looks like I'm gonna be spending $130 tomorrow. I'm in.
Yeah, no, I gotta refund. I gotta refund my account to bet across the country. I haven't done this in quite a while.
I'm gonna play all the Pick4s. I got confidence in everybody.
All right. For those of you watching, if you enjoyed the show, we're going to be back next week because, you know, that's what the Three Broke Guys do. We're going to get together and take a look at another exciting card. And next week, if I'm not mistaken, Joe has already given us the schedule. We are going to be at Aqueduct Racing for the Cigar Mile. All right, gentlemen, that's all the time we have for tonight. You know, it's always a pleasure to handicap with the two of you, right?
Always a pleasure. This is fun.
Yep.
So, I love
Happy
Pick4
Thanksgiving,
Wars.
everyone, belatedly.
Exactly. Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody, belated.
Kevin.
For Joe English and Ray Torado, I'm Rich Sharp. Thank you for watching Three Broke Guys Handicapping. Good luck and good night, everybody.
Night.